Hey there guys, welcome to another time lapse here on the channel. We're going to be making a Goofy time lapse in this video. Going to be making a time lapse of Goofy and it's going to be really cool. So I'm just putting some of the white duct tape on there first. I get a lot of people asking me why I put white duct tape on a white piece of paper or canvas, and it's mostly because you want the entire piece to be totally the same texture as what you're sticking onto it. And it would look a lot different if I just left it, you know, a white piece of canvas or paper. So you definitely want to cover it up with duct tape. So there's the image there, as you can see. It's a big picture of Goofy's head. And I'm going to be working on the black outline for it first, as you can see right there. I don't have the entire picture here on the outline, on the black sheet of duct tape there, so I'm actually going to be working on his part of his ear separately as well as his hat. So his entire outline is black, as you can see, and all those different colors are going to be placed on the inside there. So this is one giant black piece. And normally I would leave this on my cutting mat and kind of just stick the stuff onto it from there, but this is a really giant piece and it's kind of awkwardly shaped, as you can see. So what I'm going to be doing is actually putting it on the piece of paper here, because this would be it would be really difficult to stick everything on it and then try to rip the entire thing up, because it's just so awkwardly shaped. If it were something more like, you know, more basic, I could probably get away with it, but his head's definitely kind of weirdly shaped. So, and I actually put his ear on incorrectly, so I have to peel that off and put it on a little bit better, just like that. I knew it would fit on the entire piece of paper, I just had to modify it a little bit there. So I'm going to work on his hat. He's got kind of like a lime green hat. The lime green tape that I'm going to use is a little bit brighter than it should be, but it'll work out pretty well and it's still going to look pretty cool. Kind of like a psychedelic Goofy hat here. So there are a few of his eyelashes there. And this doesn't make too much of a difference if I cover up a little bit, because it's all black underneath, so I can overlap a little bit here, and then the contrast is really created by his lime green hat, as you can see there. So there's lime green tape. Pretty big difference in color, but it's going to look pretty cool once I stick it on. So work on that piece, the top piece first, and then I'll be working on the bottom. Goofy has a huge hat, so working on that. I always like when I go down to Disney and I see people wearing these giant hats. They're a good like foot and a half off of their heads. They're so big. So here's the bottom part here, and you can see I peeled everything up. And this is where it's kind of tricky. You want to make sure that the black border lines are pretty much even all the way around. If they're not, it really doesn't make too much of a difference. You want to just make sure that they're kind of close. And I like it when a duct tape creation doesn't exactly look even all the way around, because it kind of adds a little bit of personality to it. So now I'm going to work on his eyes. He doesn't really actually have any black parts of his eyes. It's just created by the background and the curvature of the white pieces here. So I'm going to use my paper image, of course, and you can see he's got no eyes right now, so I'm sticking those on. And this just shows me exactly where to stick them down. Always very important when you're working on layering decoration here. I actually didn't have any orange. I just barely ran out yesterday, so I'm actually going to be using some purple here. He traditionally always wears like an orange shirt, but he does have a few different costumes, so I'll be using some purple here, and it's going to look pretty cool. So just sticking that on there. The orange would have been probably too bright anyway, so it didn't really make too much of a difference that I went with purple. So now working on his two teeth here. He's only got two. And the borderline around the teeth is a little bit smaller than the rest of it, as you can probably tell, so I'm going to be trimming a little bit, and you can always, you know, just modify this a little bit when you're making something similar like this, because you can always cut the black borderline as well as the actual tape that you're sticking on the inside, the colored tape. So now I put this off towards the very end here. This is actually going to be the major part of his face. There's really no skin tone colored duct tape out there, so I'm actually going to be using the beige tape, which is a little bit darker than I need, but it'll work out pretty well. And it'll definitely look pretty cool towards the end. And I'm a little off the screen here, but that's okay. And his nose is just totally created by the outline here, and so are the little lines on his, I guess, part of his nose there. And just peeling this entire piece up. This one's actually pretty big, and it's almost as awkwardly shaped as his giant head, so what I'm going to be doing is actually cutting this piece into 3 different pieces and then putting them all on separately, which you're going to see that pretty soon. Alright, so making sure that works. That's where the first piece gets cut. I'm going to peel that entire thing up. You can tell even that piece by itself is pretty awkward. And I actually got real lucky here. I was able to stick it down pretty much perfectly the first time, which doesn't happen very often, especially not on camera. I do a lot of crazy stuff in between takes trying to make sure everything looks good. So just lining this piece up here, this one took a little bit longer, and here's the bottom piece, and that'll kind of wrap around the part of his chin there. Now I'm going to work on his tongue, and of course it would have been nicer if I had a little bit of a kind of a darker pink, but the hot pink here will work out pretty well. So you can see that there. So sticking that on in the middle, and then we'll have our portrait of Goofy, and there he is. So hopefully you guys liked the video. Zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. I'll be working on the featurette for A Duct Tape Morning tomorrow, so hopefully you guys will be looking forward to that, and I'll catch you next time.